Welcome to our Saturday Roundtable, where we talk about our projects, let you know what we've been up to. Who would like to start?
I can start. For Reason Score, it's a mass agreement tool. I'm still trying to find a good way to kind of beta test it. I think I mentioned last time I reached out to some video debaters, which may not be the best users for the tool, but at least they're willing to argue. They ended up not showing up for the meeting, just who said they could make it. You know how that happens. I am offering a $100 gift card to anyone that wants to have a debate on the system. The winner gets the gift card and they can split it up if they want. One guy said he thinks he could find someone debate stuff. So we'll see if he gets back to me, and I posted it for some other people on there. So we'll see if that comes out. I asked my brother to debate me on it today, and I had him look at, I have a list of bentleydavis.com/beliefs of things I'm willing to debate people on. And he's like, well, I don't really disagree with any of those. So, I mean, someone could definitely take the devil's advocate position, but I feel it works better if they actually believe the side. Ways it could help just anyone who thinks they are passionate about something that they'd like to debate. Also, I guess theoretically, if you have a cause you're passionate about, it'd be interesting to put the reasons to support that cause, or especially if it's a piece of information that a lot of people kind of disagree with, you're having people trouble understanding. It might be good to map it out in this, because this will make it to where, in a 1-minute explanation, you can never really counter everyone's, like if they saw a blog post that said that was untrue or something like that. You can't really counter everyone's in a couple minutes, but if you can give them a tool that they can explore, and where they can give feedback, then I think you have a better capability of convincing people, because it bypasses some of the biases, not all of them, and it lessens them. So anyway, so that's where I am with Reason Score. I'm also participating in a hackathon this weekend to support. It's a culture hackathon. It's by a group that supports underestimated founders and groups like that. So usually women, people of color. So I'm mentoring that, but so far no one's had any questions, so I haven't been doing much. But that should accelerate over the weekend, so I'll be busy with that. I guess that's everything. Oh, and I just got a job. Yeah, I forgot to say that. So I'm working part-time for a startup, so 20 hours a week, and they're so that's now making not quite enough money to survive, but it's extended my runway. So I might still need a little bit of contract work. So if anyone needs a software engineer for part-time or contract short-term projects, then that would help me kind of pad out my income so that I can focus on Game B. That's it.
So sweet Game A dollars. All right, I guess I can go next. So my project is both Conferati and WikiLection, sort of two sides of the same coin. They are a project to fight misinformation in politics, science, and news. I've been working with another person in this group, Radek or Matush, depending on what he shows up as, with Bentley helping to get the prototype developed. We've been the current version that's live is fairly basic, but Radek has been showing us the updated version of the prototype on sort of his own personal server that's coming along nicely. Hoping to see that published maybe this weekend. And then we'll actually start getting the Conferati prototype live, where then we're going to start looking at, I still need a better name for it. For now, I'm calling it content dissection. And so that's going to be the next step, which I think the first couple of examples can probably just be some basic content that should be fairly easy to find. So some of it might just be legislation, some of it could be scientific studies. But once that is available, the next part will be to find sort of different groups to start giving insight as the sort of different content is dissected to be able to identify the different areas, the different types of content, and so on. But nothing that I can think of right now.
All right. I am Jubilee, and my projects are solution raising, Together Tech, of course, and my new Meta Modern Learning Magic acronym, strangely, is MLM. That is more of where my concentration is these days. Solution raising, I just show up, have a topic, and it runs itself, because MLM will help us actually create the solutions that come into solution raising, as well as all the personal ones. This week, I wrote out a very rough draft while my kid was at drama school on Monday, posted it in Game B, and got a few people interested in learning more about the MLM. And had our first meeting on Friday, which was just going to be an FAQ that I repeat until I find the first couple of people who can complement my skill set in order to get us to phase 1. And I think that both the two people who showed up, who were Sharon and Carrie, might be the two people who are perfect. Sharon can kind of help us get a to-do list, and Carrie can knock things off of the to-do list, and then we can recruit based on whatever she can't do that we don't want to do as well. And there's the podcast that Upgrading Society I did with them a couple weeks ago, and it's coming out on Monday, which both mentions Game B and solution raising. I don't remember if I mentioned Together Tech. I may have given us a one line. This is also what we're up to. So between then and now, I've also have, of course, my new fire that I started. And so I wrote a blurb for Jared on who I am and what I'm up to, which was also a little challenging. And that is what I've been up to in the last week. I don't have anything in particular that I need help with, except that I volunteered to be in the hot seat this week so we can test the product for the MLM. If there was no one else, and we decided we were each going to take a turn in the hot seat and kind of more decide beforehand who was going to do it. So we can start that, or we can have an open discussion dealing with the things that you guys mentioned if you need help with, or that can be brought into the product, ironically enough.
Yeah.
Actually,
I think we're probably good to start the product discussion,
because it's very similar to this. Instead of bringing our projects, and so a bit of what the product is. The product will be a 6-week course. 4 weeks have a topic. So the first week we're talking about health, and we're doing what I assigned for homework. You're saying what yours currently looks like, what you would love it to look like, and what is stopping you from getting there. A little bit like a solution raising. And then we'll crowdsource solutions. So I didn't give us a topic. Anyway, so the first week will be health. The second week would be relationships, then time, what you spend your time doing, whether that's your job or your hobbies, and then the resources you have. And then the 5th week will be a solution raising on a big topic that they vote on. And then the 6th week will be wrapping it up and saying, how did this go for you? Maybe you didn't get anything out of the health one, but you got something out of the relationship one, right? It's continually trying this process. So that being said, although I've done many a solution raising, I haven't actually sat with people and done this process. And it's specifically designed to appeal to more non-Game B people than Game B people. But hopefully it's more broad and can appeal to everyone. So I have my statement in my head, which is, again, I said that I'm not so great at doing homework. I was like, I've got a couple things that I could improve on. But would someone like to share first, or would you like me to share mine so that I kind of know what it looks like, sounds like?
Real quick, what were the suggested kind of sections that you do in the normal process? I know we're not held to that. Health,
relationships, time, how you spend your time, as well as resources. And so really anything, especially in this time period, it just gives you a little more focus to be like, is your health where you want it to be, right? Is your relationships where you want them to be? For me, I was looking at my life, and what I could really use help with is work-life balance, but because I don't work, and so I'm 24/7 working, and that is a little bit difficult. But really, when I look around at my life, the thing that would be most, right now, my house is a disaster. It's always a disaster. I'm 40. I don't know if I'm ever going to have a clean house. That's what it feels like now that I'm a spoonie and I don't have enough energy. There's never enough energy to go around. My house is never clean. What I would love it to look like is that it is clean and organized at least once every 2 weeks. So it's starting from fresh. And what's stopping me is I'm not capable of doing that. I'm capable of kind of following my own drive, and and I do follow that when it's time to clean my house, but it doesn't lead to a clean house. It doesn't lead to, gee, I just woke up and I really want to do the dishes and do the laundry. Never ironically happens. So that is what I could use help with. And this is part of what we're doing, playing with the product, is does it make more sense to now crowdsource mine or go on to the next one? The first iteration is we all share, and then we see what came up, right? Ooh, when Bentley was talking, I came up with a solution for my own, or I came up with a solution for yours. So if you guys would like to share what your life currently looks like in that area, what you would love it to look like, and what's stopping you from getting that.
So I could go next. And I could think of something for each of those sections, but I'll just take a simple one. And I don't anticipate it actually improving, but I mean, that we'll find anything that I haven't already tried, but let's throw it out there and find out. So I've had this issue for years. Right now, several nights a week, I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And sometimes I can get back to sleep, but then I'm sleeping, my total time in bed is like 10 hours. So I feel like the day is gone, just because I spent 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night trying to go back to sleep. And sometimes I don't. So, and it is, for a while there, I was sleeping too much, but I do like getting up. But it'd be nice if I, just got up to once use the restroom at night and was able to go right back to sleep. I have tried GABA and melatonin. I'm about to try a couple other kind of sleep aid things. Exercise is supposed to help. And so I don't know, Jubilee, whether you even want to go, but what it is like, maybe it's also good to kind of say what you tried. So the next 20 minutes isn't people saying, have you tried this? And it's like, yes, have you tried? Yeah, so I know exercise should work, and it's on my list to get to doing. So one of the solutions could be to help me do that, much like your cleaning the house thing. Yeah. So that's basically one of my many issues.
All right. I had a problem coming up with something like that was, I guess, like something that I feel like I would all. Yeah, exactly. Well, I used to be conceited. Now I'm perfect. I guess a few things kind of come to mind. I'm not sure how to frame them. I'll just pick one randomly. I like Jubilee. I have ADHD, and mine is fairly strong. I've had it my whole life. And I can't really take medication for it because when I took medication when I was younger, it triggered latent Tourette's, which wasn't a trade-off that I felt like making. So I've just sort of dealt with having, fairly strong ADHD and having to do projects and do work and do that sort of thing. I guess I'm just interested in what's out there or what options are out there, or sort of temporary fixes. Actually, kind of like a lot of the aspects of having ADHD, it's just the ability to sort of, temporarily turn it off because I want to get something done.
All right, now we can crowdsource the solutions and we'll see. And I also had a difficulty coming up with something because I have something in every area, but it was also that weird, I have no idea if anyone can help with this, right? There isn't a solution at the same time, or I already have one in mind, right? That I'm either going to implement or not implement. And so it's hard to come and kind of trust in the process and be like, let's see if we can improve this together. For yours in particular, because I have, as you said, have ADD, and my whole life was relying on adrenaline to get the information in directly before a test. And a lot of people I know with ADD who've done that get to the point where they have burnout and they can't do that anymore. My burnout was my brain surgery and not being able to handle adrenaline anymore. And so there just wasn't that forcing it in. So I've had to, we know I'm just ADD-ing my way through life and allowing that, and it doesn't work in game A, right? You can't show up and earn a living in game A and allow that. I do take drugs for ADD every once in a while. As you said, you can't do that. There's a channel called How to ADHD.
Yep.
And she has a lot of tools and those kind of things, listening to people who have ADHD, right? And what has worked for them that is beyond drugs and timers and technology and all of that stuff is what was coming up for me while you were sharing.
Yeah, my brother has ADHD. He was on Ritalin for many years and then worked himself off. It was sort of effective, and I think he's managed to build a life around him that kind of compensates for it. I don't know how solved he feels. I don't think it's solved for him as well. I do think everyone struggles with having to do attention a little bit, right? So I don't want y'all to think that I can like focus for like 3 hours on something. Although sometimes I do get into a flow state. And I am coding and I forget to eat and forget to sleep. So I don't know if y'all have that in and out as well, but it is something we all battle with a little bit. And then of course y'all have it at a level that, I can compensate for mine pretty easily. Or when I have trouble, I could take a break for a little while and then come back. So I certainly don't have anything like that. I do think I'm a little bit closer on that side from my brother than the average person, but not nearly the challenge he's had. Yeah, so I don't know if I have any specific things except I have heard a lot of people say that diet does help them. And so I don't know if y'all have tried different types of diets, even from going all the way vegan to all the way carnivore for about a month each, and see if one of the other helps, because I've known people that each different extreme helped. Anyways, that's the only thought I have.
Interesting.
Not that it's a
really
cure the problem, but
the diet thing. That's interesting. I mean,
the other thing that definitely helps with my ADD, although my ADD is meditation. Meditation helps, and it's less honest. Like, it definitely helps my nervous system calm down, and so I'm able to just help with the other. It helps a little bit, but it's also, I find with all of my neurodiversity, it's less about how it shows up in the world and more about how the world treats me with it and how I respond to that. And so that's the piece that meditation helps with. Like, it's like, oh, this is how my brain is. And so it's okay that other people aren't okay with it, but I have to be okay with it. Like, this is the only one I got. So this is the one I have. And so not comparing myself to other people, not comparing and not letting other people compare me to other people. That one's a little harder because comparing other, it's forcing them, but not taking that on, not needing their opinion to be my opinion.
No, I think some people hearing that, especially with ADD, might say, can't because I have ADD, but I think, Ghibli, you've probably experienced that. It's not that you're ever successful meditating, right? It's really the attempt. So if you even just start and you get a minute in and you're thinking about something else, that's okay. Go back to it and then fall out and then go back to it and
I've tried.
And then just make time to do that.
I've tried meditation. It does help, but it seems very short-lived. Like, I'll meditate for 10 minutes and I feel better for like 5 and then back to normal.
So if
you do it for 6 months, you notice that your brain and attention in life in general improves, let's say 5-10%, right? So it's not that it's like, ooh, I get a half an hour if I meditate. It's more just that overall improvement. And I just made up numbers. It could be you do that for 2 weeks and you get 30%, right?
Yeah, it's like the Couch to 5K program, where it's like if you sit on a couch all day, you're not gonna do a 5K. But in a couple of weeks of doing they literally said, like, go walk around your house. For some people, that was all they could do. And then a week of doing that, suddenly you can go around 3 times. You can jog around the block, and it's definitely a muscle that you have to exercise. And maybe not everyone can do it because with that neurodiversity, but I think it's definitely one of those things to try. And I think for a lot of these issues, it's just trying things out until something works for you. But it's interesting because you do have to you have to give it enough time and give yourself enough patience for these things to work. because none of them will feel like they're working when you first do it.
Yeah, and it's hard like to have ADHD where you don't feel like you can kind of fully like for meditation. Part of it is I never really feel like I'm doing it properly, but I still, go through it. It feels like it helps kind of a bit. But the long-term thing is interesting, kind of like the opposite of pot, where, you smoke it, it gets in your system and it stays in there for a while. It's like that, right?
The opposite.
You do some meditation regularly, it gets in your system, stores in your fat. So,
right.
One of the other things I've found, because I find that sitting and meditating is a little difficult, and then I'll do it for like a week and then it will fall off. And I'm like, well, I'm never doing it again, clearly, because I missed a day. That all or nothing mentality. But that what I did find was I meditate while I walk. If I go for a walk with or without music, but generally without, I end up in a meditative state. And it's just being with my thoughts without judging them, really, is meditation. And so I do that more easily when I'm walking and moving. And so I try to go for a walk in the forest or near where I live once a day, because that is my meditation, and doing things that make me happy, like swinging on the swings. And it helps. It has the same space as meditation. It feels like I'm cheating though, but it really is like, oh, it's something I enjoy. It's where I get my thought. Otherwise, other people, like, you have to meditate for an hour to get near where you're kind of gone through the shit talk and gotten to the ideas that start generating where you're like, where did that come from? Whereas almost instantly when I walk out and start walking, they start coming. I'm like, oh, interesting. An hour sitting or an hour walking, and I my body can use them.
That's interesting. I find walking like very sort of, brainstorming. Like, I think the people in my building probably think, I don't know, I'm crazy to some extent, because like I'll walk my dog, but like I'm always staring almost straight down, because that's kind of what I do when I'm walking in thought. And I do that a lot. Like I probably walk my dog possibly more than, like I've had people say, you walk your dog a lot. Yeah, that's kind of partially because of that.
I think giving your brain something to do, one part of your brain something to do, can help from that kind of squirrel distraction thing, because you are giving it something. So something simple and repetitive like walking, or could be folding clothes, although that takes almost too much mental. But fun, yeah, I think that's a great technique. I've been doing meditative walks a little bit. I've been playing with meditation, but I haven't done it. I haven't even done it for like a whole month daily or anything like that. But I also have listened to a lot of people who do it, and some people that go to like Vipassana retreats, so like a silent week. But you have to be careful doing that, because if you have some background stuff, it can come up. So you need to have someone to handle that. But they say it takes a couple days. I mean, meditation is good and will work over time. But if you did want, it's interesting. Just saying, it does take time. Even if you can do it all at once, but it will take a day or something. Like my wife and I are now doing retreats twice a year, and they say for the first day, your mind is still racing and thinking about what you do for a living or your life problems and stuff like that. And so the minimum retreat is like 3 days, because the first day and a half, you're just going to be releasing all that stuff if you can. And you can't really relax until the second, and then you got to get ready to go. So yeah, giving yourself time, I think, is really important.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think I have to watch How to ADHD more. I discovered that maybe like a year or two ago, and I've been supporting them on Patreon almost the entire time. But yeah, I didn't actually use it. Well, a lot of it was like they produced a lot of content, and the majority of it wasn't that interesting to me. So it was like, people's stories and this and that, and I was like, that's cool. I have ADHD. It's not my lifestyle. Like, it's just a part of it, and I'll deal with it as necessary. But other than that, I'm going to live my life. But kind of like revisiting some of these strategies. Some of them seem to help. Like, I've got these little fidget toys.
Oh yeah.
On my desk that help a bit, because sort of that thing that you're saying, where like it engages part of your brain. It does that. It does that sort of like that background part has something to do now. I think the best description of ADHD I've ever heard was like most people sort of have like an assistant or a secretary, to protect their thoughts, right? Where like you're having a thought and a thought tries to come in, and the assistant is like, well, wait, hold on. Do you have an appointment? Okay, no, he's busy. But people with ADHD
Right.
lack that person. So just thoughts can walk right in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the best explanation of ADHD I've ever heard.
You know, another tool, have y'all heard of the Getting Things Done process, GTD?
I started it, and
So the philosophy of that is, and I don't know if it helped with ADD, but it's similar to that, is that you let the thoughts come and you jot them down in some place. And you don't even have to like arrange them at that moment. And then like once a day, you can sit down and do that. But it lets the thought, just like meditation, a lot of times you're supposed to you're not supposed to be pushing the thoughts away. You let them come in, you acknowledge them, and then you let them go. And for some people, writing it down will help them let it go. So I don't know if that would help. But yeah, not so much fighting, but giving them someplace to go so that you can jump back to your thing.
right.
And
Yeah.
I find that helps me a lot because oftentimes I'll be working
Interesting.
on something and then
I
another
definitely
thought.
do that, like not intentionally. It's sort of like I'll just have an idea and I don't want to lose it, So like I've got it down in muscle memory where it's Windows R, Notepad, Enter.
Yeah, right.
Just to bring up Notepad and then jot down the idea and then hopefully go back to the previous thing that I was working on. Almost like coming up with a system for that. Like, okay, this notepad's always open, and then once a day or once a week, go through and put that into the various folders and documents and stuff like that.
Yeah, and having an app on your phone that's a one click away. It's got to be easy.
Yeah.
And some people just keep a notepad in their back pocket with a little pencil.
Yeah, I'm more paper, and then I never look at them again, but I do go down the notes. It's very helpful. I would suggest if you feel overwhelmed by had ADHD, looking up the wall of yuck is one of the better tools if you haven't seen
The wall of the uck.
Wall of yuck, YUCK.
Okay. Wall of yuck.
And how to get
Interesting.
through
Never heard that one.
it. Yeah, goes through the different ways with ADD that you need to get through the wall of yuck. The wall of yuck is like built with all of your past failures, and so every time you go to sit down to a task, all of that comes up. And yeah, getting through it, and you can kind of like Hulk your way through, which is the adrenaline, which doesn't really work long term.
What is it? Like, what is it? A book? Is it?
It's a episode on how to ADHD.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I
So
thought
I'm
that
feeling
this was
we
an
should switch
alternative
on
to
to-
that, not a specific episode. Got it.
Yeah. Oh, there's my kid's friend calling her. Yeah. Good answer. We can switch over to Bentley's, which is how to get his mind to shut off at night, or his body, or something at 3 a.m.
Yeah, and it's funny. I used to have trouble getting to sleep, which is that kind of thing, but the meditation helped with that. It's the 3 a.m. and sometimes it's because my brain starts up again, and meditation will help. But sometimes I have nothing to think about, and I just am not tired. It's like my body ran out of melatonin, which I am in my 40s, so that could be what's happening. And it's gotten worse since I fixed my diet because now I have more energy during the day. And I think my body's like, oh, you have all this energy. You need to get up and do something now that you had to use the restroom in the middle of the night. Yeah, anyway, so that's I used to have the issue of going to sleep, but now it's waking up in the middle of the night and feeling sometimes even tired at all. Anyways.
This probably won't align with you, but I was waking up at 3 a.m. consistently. And waking up is not really my problem. I can fall asleep at the drop of a hat. It's besides when I'm super stressed. Sometimes I just sleep too much and then I wake up in the middle of the night because I got too much sleep. But I was consistently waking up at 3 a.m. And there is within the Chinese culture, they have a thing for everything, right? Every tooth is an organ, every time of day is also an organ. And 3 a.m. is like liver and lungs. And I did a liver cleanse and it helped. But I don't like anything that works for me. I never know it's placebo and I'm making it work or vice versa. But the liver cleanse itself has proof when you do it. I'm actually on the 3rd month right now. I'm drinking apple juice for 6 days. Yeah, so it's the one cleanse I will do because there's like actual proof that it's working when you do it. And then the other thing is to listen to my body. Like if I'm up at 3 a.m., there's a reason I'm up at 3 a.m. and do that thing because then I'll just sleep later, right? Like because if I just lay there obsessing about the fact I'm not asleep, I'm not getting rest, I'm not getting anything done. And then I feel like it just compounds. Whereas if I get up and read, or I get up and reading's great for me because it puts me to sleep, right? So it's like, that's all I have to do. But if that's like, I'll do a weird like YouTube video at 3 a.m. I'll be like, well, that's what my body wanted me to do. That wouldn't be your thing. But finding like, why am I awake? Why did you wake me up? Like, what is with this? There's usually some reason. And that was one of the things when I found the liver and lungs was like, well, if I'm at 3 a.m., why not do weird research? But also just, listening to my body and being like, all right, I'm up then.
Yeah, that reminds me that I had heard some similar advice. And it also keeps it to where you're not associating your bed with being awake. If you don't do, and I break several rules. Like I watch videos on my phone before going to bed. So then you associate the bedroom for, mentally. Yeah. But that's good. I probably should try that again, getting up and doing something for a little bit, or reading. I didn't really think of that. Reading does make me tired. So maybe I should try reading a book.
It definitely at 3 a.m. and then I usually fall asleep back at like 5 and then like I have that extra.
Yeah. Of course, the only problem
is like the worst to wake up at because it's not early enough and not late enough. It's a bad time for sure.
Yeah, because you're like, if it's 2, then it's like, definitely go back to sleep. But if it's like, 4 is the worst for me because 4 is like, oh, my wife wakes up at 5. It's just an hour. Should I go back to sleep and then wake up at like 9? I don't know. But yeah.
That there's also, because of my disability is to do with sleep and I Google things, I get a lot of the ads for, there's a lot of apps for sleeping, both to put you to sleep with stories and songs, which I've not used, so I don't know if they work, but there's also ones that are more about kind of like a Fitbit, where they're like seeing, are you in it? And they kind of help you get back into it. And they're like, turn off blue lights now, or wear blue light glasses, and doing that kind of thing. If you like a app telling you what to do.
Yeah, I haven't tried the ones that tell you what to do. I have I got a new activity watch. So it says I was in bed for 9 hours and 13 minutes. So I need to sit down and do the analysis. Of course, actually, I think last night wasn't bad. It was the night before that, and I was so tired yesterday. Anyways, yeah, that's a really good thing. I haven't looked into the ones that give suggestions, or I haven't looked at the suggestions on this app, so maybe I should pull it up and see what it says. All right, that's a good idea.
One of the other things that's coming up is, what was it? Oh, it'll come back if it's meant to. If it's meant to.
I had some thoughts on yours, Jubilee. Not good ones, but throw them out there anyways.
Clean your damn house. I don't.
Well, there are some things that I don't do, and I know that the finances are not the easiest place for you. So making a suggestion of getting a house cleaner. Plus, two things that house cleaners can help with if you can end up afford it is, one is you feel like you have to pick up before they get there. So it's a bit of a forcing function. Although I keep thinking, can I hire one that will just do the picking up? Like, I don't mind the vacuuming. It's the picking up I don't like.
Like the opposite. They clean up. They prep for you to clean.
Right. Yeah, that's what I want. And then I don't do lawn care. It's like, no, I'm hiring someone to do that. My wife keeps saying, well, maybe I'll do it. I'm like, well, once you do it, we'll stop hiring it, but I'm not. You got to prove you could do it. But for house, the other thing is that I know down here we have like Mighty Maids or something. You can hire them for just a one-time gig. And so they'll reset your house to clean, right? And then it may be a little bit easier to keep up with. It's expensive, of course, but if it's a one-time thing, not a regular outlay, sometimes you can give that to yourself as a birthday present or something. Or a friend, come over and help you clean once. Might be a way.
Yeah, no, that was like after I shared, I was like, you can hire, and part of it is like that needing to pick up first. I'm like, I don't even know what my house needs to look like for that person to come. I think you're right, though, just like I do when I invite somebody over. I don't invite anyone over to my house. I wouldn't be willing for them to see it messy, but I still use them coming over as fuel to clean it.
Right.
And so it's like, yes, that person coming to clean my house can be fuel to clean it and get it organized. And then having them come over, I think usually the minimum is 4 hours or 2 hours, and having it like the 3 of us, because my dad lives with me too, living in our bedrooms while they clean up, our 2 bathrooms that are out there. And we deal with our rooms And then the rest of it can kind of be done maybe even once a month, have someone come in and like reset it and do that. And although I don't have the money, I also don't have the money not to. Like, it's like my life functions better when I have a cleaner, or when my house is clean, and yet it's never going to be clean with me. Whereas at least if there's that reset once a month, then I can do it for a week, and then it gets disaster for me. Like, I have a Roomba, but I never use it because I have to clean my floor in order to be able to use it. You know?
Another thought is there are people that help with organizing, and so sometimes they can even suggest processes to make it easier to keep things clean as you go. I don't know if that would help or not, but it's just a thought. Yeah.
It's that ADD. It's like my house gets messy so easily. It's like, just bring this thing here, just do that. And I have noticed if I listen to the reverse, it doesn't get my house clean, but it does help a little bit. Meaning that, like, when I'm walking back to the kitchen, it's like, bring that cup with you in my head. And I'm like, nah, later. Like, it's like, no, not later, just a cup. Like, you're already going there, like cleaning in the same way that I mess it up, like a tiny piece at a time.
Yeah,
definitely helps.
Some things that I've heard that help with that is also like putting a little table by the door, so you can set stuff there that needs to go. Now that usually, I don't know how big your house is.
That would mean I need to have a surface, and any surface,
a clear surface,
stuff on it.
Yeah, that would be the other option is trays. So then you just have a tray and you can set it down, and as you do things in there, you're just setting them, taking them off the tray, and then you just grab the whole tray. I don't know that any of that helps, but it's a thought.
This box goes in my kids' room. This box goes here.
My new house is a 2-story house, so I may have to put something like that near the stairwell, just because I'm going to be, especially the first month or two, I'm sure I'm going to be really tired of walking up and down stairs.
I remember what my other point was, Bentley, although now that it's completely out of sync, of course, brain. What you had mentioned, that now that you're doing keto, you have more energy. I have this weird block, and I've had it my whole life, where, like, if I don't sleep for 8 hours, I am tired. It's literally, I need to think I've slept for 8 hours. If I'm wrong on the time, my body doesn't know. It's like, I need to think I've slept for 8 hours. And so it's like, therefore I need to, no matter how healthy or unhealthy I am. And it's like, it becomes a cognitive thing more so than a biological thing. But possibly your body doesn't need as much sleep as it used to. And so just going to sleep later, or doing it, like, if that's what keto is doing, or just your rhythm might be changing. We used to wake up in the middle of the night, have some time, and then go back to sleep, right? That was what we did a few hundred years ago.
I think I'm keeping myself so close to ketosis that about 3 a.m. in the morning is when my body starts burning fat and has excess ketones. And so I'm not tired because my body's like, oh, I have all this energy. It's like eating a sugar bar, or something. You have carbs. It's just your body has so much energy. It's like, you got to do something. So yeah, that's a distinct possibility. So maybe I should have a little sugar around 1 a.m. Then I'll hit the sugar crash, go back to sleep. I don't know.
Perfect. Also, I wasn't going to suggest this to Adriel because I know the answer. Have you tried pot? Because that is like, does not cure ADHD, does not help with sleeping too much, but might help with not sleeping enough.
Yeah, it's true.
So I actually 4:20 is my time in the morning. Like, if I wake up past 4:20, I can't smoke it to go back to sleep. And if I wake up at 3 in the morning, sometimes I'm like, yep, that's the perfect time to smoke some pot.
Yeah, I've tried taking a little melatonin, but something at that time, it's backfired, and I was like seriously awake after it. I don't know if my body, it's a possibility.
For melatonin, your body was still seriously awake after?
Yeah. It's supposed to trigger your sleep cycle, but since it's kind of a hormone, sometimes your body will just put the other hormone in. It'll detect it and then overreact with the other hormone.
Surge of melatonin. What's happening?
Counterbalance would be like, you shouldn't sleep yet. Here, even more don't sleep.
Right.
We woke you up for a reason. You're not listening. Your liver and lungs are yelling at you.
I've taken melatonin in the past and didn't feel it do anything. Pot is definitely a bit different, where it's sort of like, after it's done, after your 2 or 3 hours, it's like, okay, it's nap time. Especially certain kinds are worse than others. If you hear wheelchair weed, that's the stuff you want. That's the stuff that after like 2-3 hours, you're done. Yeah. But
that's true.
Might make keto hard.
Yeah, the nibbling. I mean, I do have beef jerky, which would help, but but you want crispy, chippy stuff, I'm sure. So yeah, and mental health wise, I wouldn't mind. There's a lot of stuff coming out about beneficial use of psychedelics. I would love to get rid of some of my anxiety, not get rid of, but help with my anxiety through that. But that can also is one of those that's much more dangerous than pot if it's done wrong. But if it's done right,
Yeah,
I've
especially
heard
like
it
if
can
you've
be
got
beneficial.
anxiety, psychedelics, I think you would want to go through a certain path because sometimes they don't help with anxiety.
Right. Yeah, well, it needs to be guided by someone who's
Yeah.
very experienced and understands the science and the history.
And mushrooms are pretty safe. Mushrooms just like
Yeah.
have some fun on your own. Ayahuasca, yeah,
That's
you
the
want
difference.
someone who's
Yeah, ayahuasca
Just
or
casually do some
LSD.
ayahuasca.
Yeah. There's a lot of studies going on right now, and hopefully in a little while.
Stay away from salvia.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
our story together. I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. I realized the entire universe exists for my amusement and to have fun and joy, and Adriel figured out the exact opposite. The whole universe exists for the sole purpose of betraying him, making his life horrible. Stealth is weird because it brings you back to the same place if you do it again, which is very I guess we're not solution raising drugs. We're not process raising drugs. That would be actually we did totally solution raise drugs. But we did kind of come up not with solutions, but like I feel better. I feel more empowered to okay, now I know I'm supposed to get a cleaner. Okay, all right, I get it. That is not within I need to outsource it. And I do have enough savings to be able to do that. My issue is always I can't sustain that long term. But this is honestly about making my life function so I can create MLM, so I can create solution raising or whatever else is coming down the pipeline, right? Whatever else is coming out. Cleaning my house and focusing on cleaning it is not helping. It's my wall of yuck. And so talking to my roommate / dad and finding out, how does this work? Should we go in on it together? I mean, that's kind of what I'd asked got laughed at by my siblings when he first moved in. I'm like, I'm going to be the one taking on most of this housework and I can't. That we need a house cleaner. I pay half and my siblings pay half kind of thing because my dad doesn't I might move out to the country. He's like, I don't know, I'm going to get a roommate. I can't clean. I'm like, you'll pay a little more and you'll get a house cleaner. That's not, this is a lifelong process for my entire family. No one seems to keep a house clean naturally. But yeah, anyway, that I have solutions. So I'm like, okay, there's something coming up. I don't know how you guys feel now compared to the beginning. Because now, if we have time, let's dissect this part. How was the product for you?
I think it was helpful. I think, like you said, one of the challenges getting into it is accepting that, you're already working on it. You already have some ideas. You already put a lot of thought into it, and that people may be repeating things. So I think having some process saying you're not expected to come without, the goal isn't to have it. I mean, it'd be nice to have a huge breakthrough, but it's not a waste if that doesn't happen. That's probably a way to say it. And you're just taking the chance that someone else may have heard something that you hadn't discovered in what you've worked on so far. So I think if you come in, probably a bad way to say it, but come in with really low expectations, it'll probably be good. Which is interesting. Instead of building it all up, you're really kind of just saying, hey, this is just a chance. And then I don't know whether to make the format to say, how's it look today, but also what are some things I've tried. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I'm just throwing it out there because it may take too long. And also there might be something about when people are giving you ideas, you don't have to give feedback on each one. Oh, I tried that, didn't work. Oh, I tried that, didn't work. And maybe just say, oh, just let them flow out. Gather the ones that you want, dismiss the ones you don't, but you don't feel obligated to give feedback. Were some tips that I felt going through it.
Yeah, no, I think that what you did in the beginning made sense, especially for what you were doing, right? It's something you've been struggling with, and here's everything you tried. I could have gone through that with everything I've tried with cleaning my house. So it wouldn't have made as much sense. It's listen, I'm 40, I haven't figured it out. It's not going to happen. I do need that outside force, right? that is partly why it's like, here's where my health is, or whatever it is. Here's where my health is, and here's where I need it to be. So hopefully the rest of everyone else isn't bringing in their bias. Like, oh, my health is, I have 6 months to live because I have cancer, and someone else is like, I have an essential oil for you, and it's like, did you even listen to what their goal is? Their goal is to get a year, not to cure it, right? Like, not to, you don't get to put your health obligations on them. It's like, what is your goal, and where do you want to get to? Do you think it was good, the format we did, or we all shared, and then we kind of just said, hey, I have something for that and something for that?
I think it's good in the sense that you don't have to worry as much about someone hogging all the time. I found it difficult because I'm afraid listening to the second person's hard because I have some ideas for the first person that are going through my mind. So maybe suggesting that you have a piece of paper or some way to take notes to think about it. Because I sometimes find it hard to, well, talking to y'all, about remembering something. And waiting, but that might be better because then you can also say, oh, this I think would help two of you, like we did in this situation. I would still say try it both ways and see if you, because I guess if someone takes a really long time and you have 3 people, you could probably just have that third person share the next time as well. But
and it's 4 to 6 people, so there's also more people. Like, we didn't even take the hour, right? So it would be more. So it'd be 6 people sharing at the beginning potentially, because the more people there are, the more people who can offer solutions, especially if it is, hey, I have a special pill that helps you sleep right at 3 a.m. Who would have known that there is sometimes that person who does have that? Like, sometimes the solution is something simple that you just need that connection, right? Like, if someone was like, yeah, I'm actually looking, I love cleaning houses and I'm really stressed during the pandemic, I would love to come over and clean your house, right? Is that going to happen? No. But like, if it was local people, there's a chance that someone might, you know what I mean? That there's some point of that. If there's 6 of you, there's more likely those things are going to come up. That was the point. And more people to crowdfunding and just, source. That's also the idea. So the idea is I'm creating the 6-week course, right? So we want to have the kind of the same format for all 6 weeks. So I want to try it out beforehand to see, yes, how does this kind of conversation work? Do we all share first? Let's try that. And then in the 6th one, like, actually, I couldn't. But knowing, yes, to have the piece of paper and pencil right there, because you're absolutely right. That is what I should naturally have done. In fact, even when you guys were talking, I was like, where is my pen and paper? And having those kind of instructions to beforehand of like, ideas are going to come up, jot them down, let the next person share, and then popcorn style, whatever came up for you. I think there's also a natural focus. Like we both kind of were like, Adriel's is the one we can deal with. I don't know why. Maybe because he's in the middle. Because the ADD somehow weirdly is an easier thing to deal with than sleep or cleaning houses. Like, it was more, it's just what came up, and then other, ideas come up from there. And I think easiest, hardest, there's a natural.
It may have also been because it was the last one. Like, it was just, okay, we've been through all of it. Now on to the solutions. Here was that thing we were just talking about.
That'd be interesting to see if that's the case.
Yeah. I think that's one of the advantages of sort of like having it in sessions where you all share and then you all do it, is I feel like if you did it the other way, you would definitely have people, not necessarily paying as much attention, because like as you get into the thick of conversations and ideas, you're more sort of, or in theory, you should be focused on that. But I think it helps, like, while you guys were going, I was sort of, paying attention to okay, that's sort of the way that they're sharing and the way that they're framing it. I think if you went in stages, you would have like everyone after the first one would have sort of had a chance to adjust. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to ask this slightly differently, as opposed to everyone sort of sharing and being in the same boat. Whether or not that part is better or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I think that is part of it. It's funny. I did life coaching with one of the people in Game B more recently. And then while I was doing it, they were kind of like making fun of it and doing it. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't like, there's a difference between using something you're like, I'm curious, let's see if this works, versus like, I know this isn't going to work. And it's already like coming to something like this is already, hopefully you have a little bit of curiosity and you're trying to help it work. But also, if you come with too high of expectations, it's not going to work. And if you come with like, I'm going to break it, right? Like, I have cancer, solve that for me. It's like, what? No, that's not what's happening. But like, so the person involved adjusts where it's like, which obstacle is your big thing? If you had one wish in the world, what would it be and what's stopping you? this is more like what would help you drastically improve your life right now, right? What is one thing that if changed would help you? And having it broken down into relationships, health. And I guess that's also what I could use feedback on. I have the 4 for a reason, but do those sound like top, like, is there one I'm missing or one I could be using that's different than self, or your health, relationships, time, and resources?
No, I think that's good. I can't think of anything. I think those are the important stuff. I mean, I guess maybe resources. I was wondering whether there's something about knowledge but I think health is one of those, they're like foundational things that if you have a problem in one of those areas, no matter what you're trying to do, it's kind of a hierarchy of needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as health is also understood mental health, then yeah.
Yeah, and no, like information's definitely one of them, but it falls into all of them, right? Like
Right.
It's like, are you really needing to learn information for information's sake, right? It's like, oh, I need
Right.
to learn more about health, or I need to learn more about business, or whatever the niche is. That would be what you would bring to it. And then, yeah, have you tried this book? Have you read this? Have you listened to this podcast? Right?
Mhm.
That'd be different. Very few people have that as a need. I just want to learn more about what.
Yeah, well, because I think most of the solutions kind of end up being a form of learning,
Yeah.
right? Like with Bentley's thing with 3M, all of a sudden we're talking about sleep and this and that, what can help with that. That's all information. And the same thing with ADHD, the meditation, the going for walks, all that's information.
Mhm.
So it's like, here's this. I mean, we're doing this digitally. So that's kind of the only thing we can provide is information.
Mhm.
Because even if, I've got a bottle of melatonin on my desk, I don't, but theoretically, I couldn't give that to Bentley because,
Yeah, here, try this. Yeah.
a few time zones apart.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for helping me play with the product. It was more of a vision in my head. I'm like, it'll work so well. And I think it did. It worked well. And I think that not having don't set it up as you're going to solve all of the world's issues in an hour. Solution raising, I can still promise that. We literally do. But it doesn't get people there because they're already in so much disbelief that they're like, nope, dismissed. I'm like, we really have come up with a powerful solution for prisons and for, addiction and for all of these things. Are they the solution? No. And it's coming to this low expectations. You will come out feeling better than you went in, hopefully, right? Like you will have either more, I don't know, an idea that you were on the right path, you were on the wrong path, you're now on the right path, or a new path altogether, or this is not for me. This is a horrible idea. Why would I let anyone know about what's wrong with my life and ask for solutions? And those people, this is not before. Is there, out of those 4 areas, is there an area that you cringe at sharing with people or coming to discuss, either for your own life, because you can always pass on that, but also other people sharing theirs, right? And being like, ooh, I don't want to hear about other people's either.
No, I don't think. there's much about it.
Yeah, I can't think about anything, but I'm also very hard to offend or disgust. So
Yeah, no, like relationships, chances are sex is going to come up, right? Because it's part of what's there, but it's not its own category. So it's like those things might come up in the conversation and someone's like, that's not what I was expecting. You know what I mean? That's more about teasing apart the differences. And like, yes, different people are different. And that's a big part of relationships.
And with health, right? Like you could end up with some pretty
True. Yeah.
gross topics.
Yeah, I
And that
think
is
they're
part
all
of it.
equally cringeworthy.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I'm going to be cringing at
Awkward.
people's time they spend and their resources. You want what? No. Gay May! Stamp that Gay May all over the place. It's like, right, it's their life. They're allowed to choose. They're allowed. Oh, and then I think
I
Sharon
need to drop off
Sure.
a few minutes early. I got a meeting starting in a few minutes, but it was fun, and
all right.
catch you on the flip side.
And next Friday we'll discuss who's in the hot seat next week, or do you guys want to discuss that now so that we know who is there? One of you can take the hot seat.
Let's discuss it Friday.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye. Before we stop going live now that Billy's not here, let's talk about him. When he mentioned his brother, he was like, we agree on everything. I'm like, we don't have that problem in our sibling group. So what we could possibly do is you and me could find something we disagree on and do the debate thing for him in that hour. But I don't know whether that would work, right? But we can offer just like we focused on my product, right? Like, hey, let's pick something we disagree on and figure that out, right? Figure out which side. My issue with debating, like I used to love debating, including even the references and stuff, but no, I always hated the references, but at least I saw the value in them. Now I'm just like, it's a gut feeling. Like, oh my God, this is bad. You can't counteract that, right? Like it's not a reason thing. It's like I went from needing so much data to like data.
Like the gut feeling thing, I think that's how everyone operates, right? Like that's actually how decisions are made, is you make your decision and then you look for stuff to back it up.
Yeah.
Like to back up how you all already did. But I think that's how everyone is going to operate, which means that whatever tool, right, whether it's Reason Score or Wiki Election or what, it needs to be able to handle that. So it sort of needs to be able to like provide that underlying information. It's never going to work for everyone. It kind of has to be able to chip away at that, like, oh, this is pretty convincingly not agreeing with what I believe interesting, right? And then you might go look, be like, is it biased? Doesn't look like it's biased. Ah, crap. But so I think it is like just purely whatever evidence you have chosen to believe because of your bias. Great, bring that.
Yeah, and that is part of it is because it's always valid to be like, what are those references? But when you're a jack of all trades and you don't have a memory and you don't like, it's like, I don't actually know where I learned that. And I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't know if I learned where I learned it. Right. And so that's part of why I became obsessed with having that like IMDb for all information, where it's just as easy to look up anything so that we can like nip this in the bud. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter where I got my reference. It matters what the actual truth is or not, because that's where all of our information comes from. Right? It's a telephone. Like, I don't know where I learned that, and I don't know.
Oh yeah,
and then even stuff that is like referenced is really just.
And I'm like, I've believed that for 20 years. Is it true? Like, how did I learn that?
There's been a few times where it's like middle and someone and I'm like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you're wrong, it shakes my worldview. So I'm just gonna need to take a moment and Google this. Like you might be right. The population of Iceland was one of them. I don't remember. I was like, what do you mean there's only, I think it's 100,000 or some very low amount. Where I was like, what? How? It's like, they are a tiny island. I don't know why I thought that there would be more people, but that's one of the reasons that they function when the economy came back and stuff. And other things that rock my worldview, especially if they're to do with science and biology and such. And yet there's tons of things that we believe that are not true, but like most people believe them. So most people believe them. We took a poll.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the same thing. And so, yeah, anyway, so we could offer that to him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, want some other siblings to debate?
What it would look like if something was totally one-sided, right? Like if you wanted to use it for a soapbox, to be like, here's all the evidence as to why I'm right, and to start there. Which I think we may have talked to him. I'm not sure why, or we may have suggested that in the past. I don't recall why that wasn't a solution, but I kind of feel like it needs to be able to do that. It needs to be able to tell a one-sided story, but then that's also bait. Because, if you went for like pro-vaccine, right, and you built up this full list of pro-vaccine, and then you go shop that list around to anti-vaxxers and be like, hey, do you agree with this? No? Great. Why not? Or like, here's a login, go use it and say where it's wrong and challenge the stuff that needs to be challenged.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are valuable tools. All right, we are at the 10 o'clock mark. Should we say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube? And we will see you next week. This roundtable, everyone's invited. We do it every morning. We talk about not every morning, every Saturday. We talk about our projects. So if you have a project, even if your project is yourself, you can come and tell us, and we will do what we did today, but for your project instead of for your personal life. I'll bring your personal life. We'll see. Let's incorporate it into my product later. And we will see you on Friday for our next board meeting. Bye-bye.